All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Six Questions with Alana. That's me. And today with us, we have our wonderful chair and director, Jennifer Curan. And she's here to talk about
Hello.
a piece of four.
Yes, it was quite a show.
It was a lot of Jen pieces in the best way. Um, all right, so we're gonna start talking about Nothing is Little, which was a beautiful piece. I mean, like visually stunning. What was kind of the creative process and inspiration for that work?
So it started now that we're looking for music that we have the rights to. I'm constantly like a little more driven to themes based off of music. So I was looking through a place called Pond 5 that I have a subscription to, and I can get music rights pretty easily. And I found a piece that was called Sherlock. And it sounded like Sherlock Holmes. And I was like, oh, this is a really cool piece. I like it. And so then I was like, I know nothing about Sherlock Holmes. So, and this was like the semester before. So
Hmm.
this piece was done in fall. I, in spring, found the music and was like, oh, I'll spend the summer and do like some research. So
Yeah.
I read Sherlock Holmes books, which I'd never done, like watched the movies, watched
Yeah.
like new movies that have come out, old movies, just did a whole bunch of research and found out that Sherlock Holmes was actually like connected to Edgar Allan Poe. He like was in part of the inspiration. There's like so much weird back history and how it's all connected.
Yeah.
And so like kind of got nerdy and was like, oh, this is really interesting. And just learned a bunch about the Sherlock Holmes character and his, things. And then decided I wanted to set it in the past so that their costuming and look was in the past.
Yeah.
So I kind of did that. And then I went and found two other pieces of music that worked well with that one that I really liked.
Yeah.
So the opening piece of music was the original piece of music that I had found. And then the two
Wow.
other tracks I thought went well with it, but were
Hmm.
not by the same artist or anything. So
I didn't know that. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah. Anyways, so I found them through that. And then I decided to create the work. We had auditions. I did not have dancers in mind or anything. And it got cast, and then it came to life in the studio.
The rest is history.
The rest is history.
Okay, so you kind of touched on how you went about choosing music and costumes, but let's talk about the props that they used, the lanterns. What was that
Yes.
inspiration?
So when I was researching all of this and then watching the movies, of course, there's like this particular like gas-lit, lighting, eerie. And I was like, oh, like I'm always thinking about lighting and how that could be. I was like, oh, it'd be really cool, like London fog,
Mm.
just a little light peering through. So I was like, I'm going to try and find some lanterns that they can dance with. So I ordered like 17 different lanterns and like in my house played with all these lanterns. But I wanted them to look like not like a camping lantern. I wanted to
Yes.
look like a
Yeah.
legit old lantern. And so it was actually like harder to find those for inexpensive than you would think. So yeah, so it ended up working out. I found the ones that we had. They were rechargeable. They didn't even take batteries, which was
Oh,
great.
that's nice.
We only lost, I think, two of them in rehearsal process in terms of them like breaking from doing things with them. And they had these really cool like hooks on them
Hmm.
that made it actually easy to swing and hold, but also for the ability for them to hook them onto something, because
Yeah.
I wanted them to only have them for the first section and then to be able to rid themselves for partnering and other reasons as the piece progressed. So yeah, so it worked out really well. And the lanterns, I mean, props are always fun.
Yeah.
I do think that we made it like, because of what it was, it really was integrated with the choreography,
Yeah.
which
Definitely.
was lovely for me to see that progress and work itself out.
Yeah. Absolutely. Um, how did you use the different experience levels of your dancers to kind of showcase their specific talents? Because you had kind of a unique, eclectic cast.
I did. So I cast one of our new dancers, and so I didn't know kind of besides just knowing her from audition. So that was like you're just taking a chance. And then we had another new PDE dancer who I knew, but was pushing him to new limits and such. So Yeah, so it was kind of a little bit of experimental in the beginning to see what they were capable of, how far I could push them with
Mm.
movements and ideas, and where I needed to hold back a little or work to their strengths. I do think the last section was birthed out of contact improv work,
Yeah.
and they were much more open to that, which was fun to see. And then I did workshop some of the choreography in my modern class. So I would bring in parts of phrases and
Oh,
teach it
smart.
to modern.
Yeah.
And some of them were in modern. So it was fun for them to, like go like, oh, but then for them to see how I translated that idea or the start of that, into something more complex and different for the work. So yeah, so they definitely all had different strengths,
Hmm.
but I think because they were individual characters inside of it too, that made it a little bit easier to highlight, what they were good at, but also for the unison to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the piece's length and how technically challenging it was hard for all of them just to get through, and they were wearing a lot of costume.
They were wearing a lot of costumes. Yes.
They were wearing a lot of costumes. So, and that's just they did have the skirts for practice, but the boys never had their coats or hats
Oh, yeah.
or any of those layers. So that was definitely an extra challenge.
It adds a lot of heat. They were
Yeah,
sweaty after.
they were definitely sweaty.
Yeah. Did your piece display any like new techniques that you haven't used before, or any kind of like new ideas that you hadn't really attempted before this piece?
That's a great question. I don't think with this piece anything really, I mean, I'd never worked with lanterns.
Here we go.
So that was, and having an extra light source on stage, I've worked with the use of flashlights and body lights. So I kind of knew how that would play out. Um, and then I think everything else I've done, but it was re-explored, re-looked at. Like there's definitely some contact improv stuff. We did a lot with partnering.
Yeah.
Um, and and then the play, I think choreographing a quartet is actually really challenging because it ends up like you feel like you want it to be duet, duet, duet. So then to
Yeah.
find where you can have trios and solos and
Hmm.
counterbalancing like the use of four people, I find odd number pieces to be easier
Yeah.
than, I don't know, just if to make it interesting and not fall into some traps that can
Yeah. Just
happen.
all duets.
So I was very aware of that and started out with that, but also wanted it to not feel like they were stuck with a particular partner. So there was, even
Yeah.
when we did duet work, like the girls danced together, then different boy danced with a different girl, and then the boys danced together, and then things switched up, and then then it was a trio and a solo. So I really was very conscious with those choices.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, was there any memorable moment or difficult situation during rehearsal or during the process about either your cast or for yourself that you want to share that you learned from?
Yeah, I think this piece I struggled. So on PDE on Fridays, sometimes we switch between rooms.
Mm.
So we'll go into PE 270 and 160, and like one room will work in and then another room will work in. And I really struggle with that in the creative process. Like there's different energy in both of those rooms.
Yeah.
And so I felt like this semester I was actually more productive in 270, which is abnormal for me, or I felt more creative and like open in that space. But we did put down the new Marley floor, so maybe I was just like really happy about that. I don't know, but I felt like on the weeks I was in that space, it just like I accomplished more, which I like was thinking at one point when we were in 160, I was like, why am I so like ugh in this room? And then the other weird thing was that President Biden showed up,
Oh, yes.
and we had to rehearse in the lobby of the PAC without any floor, well, with a Marley, but not any like on the
Yeah.
concrete. And so
Before.
we actually choreographed and added on a good amount during that rehearsal of my piece, which I was really surprised about. Like, I think we added like 45 seconds, which for how shortened the rehearsal was and the
Yeah.
space, it was kind of interesting. But I do think that maybe being in a different space with windows and light and things just looking different, that it may have inspired me to look at angles and facings in a way that I maybe wouldn't have in the studio space. So as much as it was a challenge, I do think
Sure
that
thing.
helped maybe yeah, like keep me going in a different direction than I would have headed if I'd stayed in the studio the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a very specific day of rehearsal.
Yeah, very weird.
Very
And
weird
it's
day.
funny because I do feel like in some of my other pieces, it was completely like counterproductive. We didn't do anything. But
Yeah.
in this piece, I did feel like we made progress.
Yeah, you
So
did.
it's interesting how different pieces can, be different.
Yeah. What would you like to say to any potential student choreographers or dancers that might want to join our program at IVC?
Do it. No, I think that we have a unique program in that we're really open to having anyone, no matter what their goals are. If you want to be a professional dancer, great, we're here. We want to help you succeed with that. But if you're looking to just have dance enrich your life, if you're looking to get back into dance, if you're looking to change what you're interested in dance, that we're really here to help you facilitate that. And it's not a one shop stop, but really a smorgasbord of dance. And that we really are individually based. I think like student choreographers get their mentor, they get a lot of help from really all the faculty and other students. I do think we have a really supportive group of students that are here to, lift everyone up. And that's hard to find. So, without bragging too much, I do think that it's a fabulous place to come and find a community. And I think in dance, sometimes we try to, we worry about people being our competition. And I don't think that's the case here. I feel like
Yeah.
it really is the community. I hear the puppy dog.
Sorry, he was doing so good.
It's all right.
It's at the end, which is fine.
Yep, perfect. Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for 6 Questions with Alana, and we hope you enjoy. Nothing is. Oh, shoot! I just forgot the name of the piece.
Nothing is little.
Nothing is little.
Enjoy it. All right. Enjoy it. Bye.